everyone, you're listening to the Tea with Tanya podcast, and I'm your host, Tanya Ambrose. I'm a public health professional by day and your average tea-loving millennial and content creator by night. My goal for this podcast is to share public health stories, self-love and wellness tips, to educate and empower, and to promote positive living. This podcast is here to serve you. Join me in the tea tasting room to see what I have brewing for you. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Tea with Tanya podcast. I am joined by two amazing people that I met on social media. So let me just plug in here, guys. Social media can be used for good things or something that's positive. You know, you follow somebody, you interact in their DMs, and before you know it, you're here on a podcast talking to them about the amazing work that they're doing. So today I do have Carolyn and Lauren from Mental Push Plan. Hi, guys.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
I know. How's it going?
We are just doing great.
Yep. I know one just said that they were traveling for vacation. One is going to be traveling soon for vacation to see family. So that's really good. Really, really good to get, some time away from the crazy world. Try to decompress before we go back into doing the work that we do. But I am happy to have you guys here after planning and trying to make it happen. It's finally happening. So I'm very, very happy and grateful. And I appreciate you guys for always accommodating me and my pushback and my rescheduling. Life happens.
So absolutely. We're happy to be here.
Yes. So what I'd like to do is have my guests tell me a little bit about themselves, tell the audience about themselves. So you guys can pick who go first so I can hear all these amazing stories about who you guys are.
Well, I'll go first. I'm Carolyn. I started off my background is in biomedical engineering, and I worked for medical device companies for a long time. And I really liked the healthcare aspect of having these products that helped people and changed their lives. But I got really burnt out in the corporate world. And so I did a total 180 and became a yoga teacher. And I actually remember during my yoga teacher training, we had to write an essay that was like basically meditate on what your calling is, what your dharma is. And I sat with that, and what came to me was, I want to inspire and empower women. I don't know what that looks like.
Right.
This was long before I was pregnant, before I had any interest in working with pregnant people. And I thought to myself, oh, well, yoga, there's a lot of women that practice yoga. Maybe that is what this is meant to be. And the things just started lining up for me. I had an opportunity to do my prenatal yoga teacher training, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Let me do that. And so I got certified in that. And in that training, I learned what a doula was. And I was like, oh, that's my calling right there. This is what I'm meant to do.
Did you guys just hear that?
Yeah.
Yes. It's been storming all week. We had several earthquakes, guys, and then that just came out of nowhere. But you know what? We can push through. Yeah. So it's
oh my God.
Yeah, it's been a mess down here this whole week, but we pushed through and just pray for safety.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was thunder?
Yeah, it was thunder. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was like, that was thunder. No, not a crash. It literally was thunder, guys. So you're hearing us recording this episode in the middle of, let's say, I guess, an oncoming or ongoing storm, because it's still a little bit bright outside. But yeah, that's what happened.
Wow.
But Carolyn, we'll continue with your story.
Well, yeah. So doula work was really, when I first learned about it, I was like, that is something I feel just lines up with what I want to do. And I didn't pursue my doula training until years after that. But in the meantime, I got pregnant. I had a baby. And Lauren and I were pregnant at the same time and started talking about, preparing for birth and how much of birth prep is focused on the physical aspects of labor, which is super important. But, with my yoga and meditation background and Lauren's sports psychology, mental training background, we were both like, we understand the mind-body connection, and why are more people not talking about this? Um, and that was kind of what led us to develop the mental push plan. So it's been really cool to see how all of these things in my life have kind of come full circle, and everything that I'm working on right now, prenatal yoga, my doula work, mental push plan, is all lined up to help the same group of people. And it just feels really good to be in a place where it's like, yes, I'm in flow. I'm feeling,
It's my calling. I don't have to second guess what
yeah,
I'm doing. Yep, that's really
yeah.
good.
Hmm.
That's the good thing, and I can relate now. Before I could not, but now I can definitely relate to that aspect of your story of being in alignment in what you do. It doesn't
Hmm.
get any better than that. What about you, Lauren? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So my background is, as Carolyn said, in sports psychology. I grew up playing all kinds of sports, and I had the opportunity to have a sports psychologist in high school. Her son just happened to be in my class at the high school that I went to, and so she was very generous. Donated her time to come in and work with all of these high school athletes. And she, in particular, had a very special place in her heart for young female athletes. And that really resonated for me. And I was like, I mean, you get to like help athletes be better athletes. Like that's your job. Like, cool. I want to do that. So that has sort of always been my path. Like I really wanted to do sports psychology. So did my undergraduate in psychology and then went into my master's program. And then that's sort of where things started to change for me. I started to feel like, I don't really necessarily feel as authentic in this elite athlete realm. I think they're incredible and I think we can learn a ton from them. But I started to have experiences doing research where I realized you can have such a broader impact and actually impact people's day-to-day lives with this work, beyond just working from a sporting context. And that's not to say these skills don't transfer, which they do. And thank God they do, because that's how we've been able to translate these into tools that are going to work for new moms. But it was doing research on postpartum depression in new moms during my graduate career that really opened my eyes to maternal and infant health and the lack of resources there, and also what an impact you can have by bringing tools and resources, and you're not just affecting the health of the mother, which is so important. We moms often get pushed aside in the whole context of we got to worry about baby, which is obviously very important, but we got to worry about mom too. And so wanting to make sure that we were offering resources for women and birthing people in their experiences of having children. So, and then again, having your own child really brings that home. So having my first child at the same time, Carolyn, you're like, oh yeah, now I get it. I mean, I like intellectually got it, but now I, internally, like viscerally get it. Once you walk that path, I think it brings a little bit more meaning and context. So that has really informed the work that we do. And now I just had my second child. So I got to use the mental push plan myself.
Nice.
It was really fun. I didn't have to sort of hunt and peck and piece together things like I did for my first birth. So yeah, that is sort of how my path has gone, really interested in sport and then finding, like let's work with a population that I think is really important. One thing Carolyn and I like to say a lot is there's nothing more elite than giving birth. So why not have elite level mental tools for people in the birthing room? And that's really what we strive to do.
And it's interesting because when I first followed you guys on Instagram, I was like, mental push. The name is cute, but what exactly, was it? Went to a website, did some nosing, I'll be honest, just to see what am I getting into. Well, when we think about, pregnancy, I have not had any kids as yet, but I do work as a birth and postpartum doula as well, and I became a doula because just like, kind of like years later, my sister, she had my first niece when she was 20 weeks pregnant. And I always tell this story. So guys, if you're tired of hearing it, just stick around. It's going to last like 2 minutes this time around. But it just resonates with, where I'm in life now. I remember her at 21 weeks pregnant stating that she didn't feel the baby kick. And me being naive and younger at the time, I was like, you know what? She's probably just tired because we've been at the mall all day walking, shopping. The baby's tired. Like, again, naive, not even knowledgeable about anything about the science behind even being pregnant. And she was like, no. Then we called her mom back home, and she said, you know what? That's not normal. Go to the hospital. So which we did. And when she got there, they admitted her, and they were telling her that she had a 50-50 chance of either the baby surviving or the baby dying. And they were, in a sense, leading towards terminating
Wow.
the pregnancy. And me being the youngest sister, but as we said, the little big sister, I'm like, why can't we lean to the positive side of the pregnancy? Why are you going to lead towards termination? And even then, I didn't know that I was an advocate, from on my sister's behalf, or for my sister, encouraging her to go through with the positive side of her pregnancy. My niece is here 11 years later, doing
Wow.
really well, doing her thing. So it just goes, like I said, back then I didn't know I was an advocate, maybe in a sense, somewhat of a doula, because, we do, as a doula, we provide emotional support as well. And it wasn't until I did my degree in public health and I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm getting ready to graduate. What do I do before, starting grad school and these different things? And I went to one of my professors and he drew up a 5-year plan for Tanya. And we sat down. He said, what do you want to do? And just like you, Carolyn, was like, I want to help people. But that's always cliche. Everybody want to help everybody. Let's be honest. That's always a go-to thing. I want to help people, but in what regards? And I said, well, I do have a passion for maternal and child health based on, one, what I learned in my last few classes here in school, but also thinking back to what my big sister, which I call her my superhero, she's just 5 years older than me, but she's just a phenomenal woman, mom. I don't know how she does it, but one day I'll be like her. But, I just went back to see, thought about, okay, wow, in this moment, now that I'm older, I was an advocate. And many people don't even have that support system in place. So, me, okay, so let me become a doula. Let me learn these different techniques and what I can do to prepare my clients. But when I'm thinking and I'm looking at you guys' website, guys, I'm thinking mental push plan. We're not even thinking, even at the time earlier on in my doula career, if I can be transparent here. Of course, we talk about, providing mental support, but I didn't have the skills when I first did my doula training, I'll be honest, and I'm still learning as I'm going through this process.
Journey.
We're always learning. But when I think about what you guys do, we always talk about, oh, take your prenatal vitamins, make sure you go to your checkups. That's usually, in a sense, the basis of that's it. I'm pregnant, let me make sure the baby's healthy, take my vitamins, go to my checkup. But then we forget sometimes, or we would focus sometimes on the postpartum aspect, postpartum depression. But when you think about the mental toughness that moms are having to go through from the time they conceive to when, up until the child is just, at this point, it doesn't end. I'm sure you guys can we'll be able to talk more on that. But when you guys coming up with mental push plan, before I guess get long-winded, tell us, I guess, more about mental push plan, and then I'll get to my other question, because it just fascinates me. Like I said, just looking at you guys' website, joining you guys Instagram lives from, I'll be stalking you guys low key. Sometimes I may not always do live, but I come back to the page because I got my little push notification, notification bell thing on Instagram. But what was I know you guys said it before, but what was the true meaning behind why mental push plan? Why focus, in a sense, on the mental aspect of birth and, pregnancy and these different things, even after pregnancy?
Yeah. Well, we agree wholeheartedly with what you said of just providers, especially OBs these days, have such a limited time with
Yes.
their
Yes,
patients,
yes.
right? And 15 minutes is just about enough to go over, is baby healthy? Is mom physically healthy? And maybe they can recommend a childbirth education course for them to take. And a lot of times they don't. And so these birthing people are just expected to show up to their birth and navigate that whole piece of it on their own if they haven't sought out doula support or if they haven't sought out a childbirth education class. And really, the framework of the mental push plan is creating a mental game plan for how you're going to approach your birth. And that's not to say that you're going to create this plan that is going to be your picture perfect birth with the twinkle lights and the amazing music playing in the background, which that's amazing if you have that. But what happens when things start to go differently than planned,
Right.
right? And it doesn't necessarily mean like an emergency C-section, which that is always a possibility. But what if you were planning to have an 8-hour birth and you're at hour 18 now? How are you going to cope with that mentally, right? That is a huge hurdle when your expectations don't line up with reality. And so your mental push plan is really to just give you the tools so that you can approach your birth with openness. And I guess, Lauren, do you want to kind of go into the framework of the plan?
Sure.
A little bit more?
Yeah. So ditto to what all Carolyn said. We really want people to come away from our program with a set of tools that they can use no matter what happens in their birth, right? We want people to feel confident and secure and like they can respond mentally, which will then help them respond physically in those moments, because nobody knows exactly how their birth is going to go, right? Things change. I bet you've never heard a birth story that's like, it was exactly the way I thought it was going to be. Unless maybe, they're on their, third, fourth kid, and then they're like, got a little bit more of a rhythm. They know how they birth. But even then, things can change from one birth to the next for the same person. So how we approach this with the mental push plan is we first start with a foundation of mindfulness. So it's not a surprise that Carolyn's background is in yoga and meditation and mindfulness. We start from that place because having a sense of self-awareness is very important to check in with where you're at. So that can be both physically. So am I holding tension somewhere specific? Do I have that in my shoulders, in my chest, or in my stomach? I hold my tension in my jaw. I always notice that when I'm tense, my tongue is glued to the roof of my mouth and my jaw is really tense. So that's something I have to relax. And it's through mindfulness that you can begin to tap into those things. And that goes for your thoughts as well. And one thing that we really like to emphasize is that this practice of mindfulness, this foundation, needs to be non-judgmental. It's not about saying, oh, this is bad, or, oh, I need to change this, or these thoughts are negative. It's just about assessing. These are what these thoughts are. They don't have to be good, bad, get rid of, do more of. It's just an awareness. So from there, once you're able to kind of have that level of awareness, and this doesn't have to be a formal 10-minute a day practice by any means. This is things that you can do across your day, starting with some just mindful breathing, a couple places across your day, making it realistic and something that people can actually do, especially people who are pregnant or who have other kids. It's hard to work things in. So how can we make it quick and easy? And then from there, we want you to figure out, what is your goal mindset? We call this your sweet spot. So how can we get you into a place mentally where you feel confident, you feel secure, you feel successful, dare I say badass, whatever that is for you. How can you channel that mental strength that is most productive for you? So in our program, we help you figure out what that place is for you. And then from there, we help you figure out how to get from where you're at, checking in with yourself from a mindfulness aspect and saying, okay, I'm very tense right now. And then to be able to say, but my sweet spot is over here where I'm feeling really loose and relaxed. So we help you build a plan full of mental tools to get you from A to B. And our goal for the program is to have you spend as much time as possible in your mental sweet spot as possible. And of course, we're looking at this from the context of labor and birth, but we also think that this is really transferable to different times across your pregnancy and postpartum. These are really skills that you can use no matter what the stressful situation might be. And we throw a whole lot of mental tools at you when you come in and do our program, because we don't give you the plan. There is no XYZ.
I just want to ask that.
There is no one size fits all when you come to us. It is very much a build your own. And we walk you through that process and help you figure out, okay, what tools are going to be most impactful and important for me. If you're a visual person, for example, you might want to use tools that help engage you visually.
Okay, that's
So we use
interesting.
something called a point of focus tool. That's one example, where we help you figure out something that you can engage with from a visual standpoint, whether that be like the flame of a candle is one that we like to highlight. Humans are very much drawn towards flames. And it might also be something that you find in the moment. You might be in your birth space and you find something and it's like, okay, I'm just going to hone in on that. I'm going to let my whole focus go to whatever I'm staring at, basically. And these tools can help fill up your brain and prevent you from letting rumination happen or thoughts of panic or fear, wondering how long it's going to be, those sorts of things. How can we fill your mind with something that's going to be productive, calming, whatever the sense you want to feel might be. You might want to feel more energized, and that goes to you as an individual. So that is to say, we throw a whole bunch at you and we help you pick and choose, okay, which ones are going to be the most effective for me. And then
So
in
for
the end,
someone like me, I don't do well. I probably need to stop saying this, but let's say, I'm pregnant and I don't do well with change all the time. I got to reprogram my mind to adapt to the change. When you have a particular plan, you have a particular mindset, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is the only way, the only how I'm going to do it. But then you end up having to, rearrange your plan. So as you would have mentioned earlier, when you're pregnant, you know what, for me, I help my clients to create a birth plan, but I also let them know, again, anything can happen. Babies are unpredictable, birth are unpredictable. So we want to make sure that we are working towards having a plan B or plan C. But with the mental push program now, you're giving us the tools that no matter what, again, we're not perfect here, guys. We're not promoting perfection here, but you're giving pregnant moms enough tools that no matter what may come their way, they're going to be able to, adapt and adjust to the situation, I guess, based on what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lauren and I always like to say there's no right way to birth.
Right.
There's no winning at birth, as much as we like to use sports analogies in our content. But yeah, especially for the thing you said about adapting to change, like if that is something you struggle with, what are things that you can put in your toolbox that will help? Like, what are things that can be constants for you? So, returning to your breath is constant. Lauren and I both love the counting tool of just repeating numbers over and over again, counting to 10 through your contractions. And when those tendencies, like I need to control something, it's like, okay, well then let's find the tools that are best suited for that.
I like that because they have some moms, they want to be in control of everything because that's who their personality was before they became pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, there's no winning.
Yeah.
When it comes to pregnancy. So I'm really happy. So how long? I'm happy about that. How long can one be, I guess, in the program then? Like, how soon can one sign up? Okay, I found out I'm pregnant. I'm 12 weeks, 14 weeks, whatever the case may be. Is there like a particular age? I mean, I'm saying age. Forgive me. No age. Well, how far along in your pregnancy, yes, do you need to be in order to join the program? And then how long does it go?
Well, we think that you can join at any point. Definitely. I mean, these are tools that you can use across your pregnancy. And one of the things that we really emphasize is practice. Practice is really important for making sure that these tools feel natural to you and they feel like you can draw upon them in the moment. If you've only just opened the book as you're going into labor, like they're not going to be effective. So the more time you can spend with them, the better. We recommend starting somewhere at the end of the second trimester, early third trimester, and then going about 6 weeks across the program. So when you get our digital workbook, it's self-guided. So there's 3 different sessions, and we recommend taking about 2 weeks in between each session. So that would get you to about a 6-week span to be able to really be practicing the building blocks of mindfulness, and then being able to practice your mental tools, and then to being able to bring it all together to your completed mental push plan. And then you still, depending on when you give birth, you've still got a little bit of time to then sit with the program or your entire plan for a little bit before the big days, who knows.
Right.
So that is sort of the pace. If you do our digital workbook, we have some new offerings coming out because we know that people want a little bit more interaction, and so do we. Like, we really want to engage with people on this. So in order
And
to
after the years that we've had, we definitely, engaging is that's we need it.
Yes.
Amen. Yes, we're really feeling how important that human connection is. So Carolyn, do you want to talk about our new offerings and how we're sort of adding those on to the push plan?
Yeah. So we started offering workshops, which are it's currently being offered as a 2-hour long workshop to supplement the workbook. So when you register for the workshop, you get the workbook along with it. And the workshop is designed to kind of do an overview of the topics, familiarize yourself with what we talk about in the mental push plan. We offer exercises and ways to implement your tools in your birth. And then it's really just a motivator or inspiration for you to then take that material and go with it, run with it after our time together, and spend it with your book and practicing your tools and creating your plan.
And guys, definitely gonna stress, like Lauren would have mentioned, you cannot bring the tools that they're giving you in this workbook the day of or the minute your water break and expect a perfect, a totally different result. Again, it takes, just like with anything, we have to practice. As they say, practice makes perfect. We see LeBron James and practicing every day in the gym. So as just like your pregnancy, like even though there's no winning in pregnancy, the winning, I think, in this whole situation or audio is that, I'm taking the time, whether it's 5-10 minutes a day, just to practice and utilize these tools that's going to prepare me for when that time comes. So definitely hope this message resonates with you guys. Practice again, consistency. I always say consistency is key. You cannot expect results if you're not putting in the work. And they've created a great plan. So definitely want you guys to check it out, and I'll put everything in the show notes. But I want to switch gears just a little bit before we wrap up and talk about the mental grief plans. Not only, guys, do they have a mental push plan to get you ready for your birthday, there's also one for grief. So talk a little bit about that, because again, life happens. Every birth outcome is not going to always be the same, and I know sometimes it can be a little sensitive or touchy topic, but it is a real thing as well. And we want to ensure that we know our mamas know that, even though this is not the outcome that you want, you guys have a tool that they can use to help them get over that point in life. So talk a little bit about that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. This is one of our other products that we have developed. And as you said, it's not something we want people to have to use. We developed this program also out of experience. I had 2 miscarriages, 2 pregnancy losses in between my 2 children. And for me, it was the toughest mental, emotional experience that I'd ever gone through. And I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what resources I needed or what I wanted or how to find them. And so we always like to share this preemptively, because when you're in those moments of just overwhelmed with a grief experience, it can be really hard to know where to turn. So if you know where these resources are beforehand, that can help eliminate some of that hurdle or that obstacle to helping yourself along your path of grief. So similar to our mental push plan, it's also a self-guided workbook, and it includes 3 different sessions. And we try to help you mindfully approach your grief as you walk through that journey of that loss. And so we have this book that's always buy one, give one. So if you need this book and you're able to purchase it, we will then always donate a copy to someone else who needs it but maybe can't afford it. And so that is so important to us, because the path to parenthood is not a linear straight line. It's, unfortunately, we're not very well educated when it comes to fertility and pregnancy, and even understanding our own, bodies, women's health. People who have wombs, we don't know as much as we should, and that is, I think, changing. But we've always thought, okay, I get pregnant, and okay, great, I'm pregnant, I'm going to have a baby. And that, unfortunately, is not always the case. And so when we have that expectation and then something changes, that can be, a really hard shift in your brain when you're already thinking, oh, I can't wait to tell people, and oh, I'm working on names. Oh, what is the nursery going to look like? And then when that baby doesn't come home with you for whatever reason, that's hard. I still get emotional about it. So we want people to be able to have a resource to help them process their grief in a mindful way. And we don't recommend a timeline with this one. We don't, you don't build a plan to get you, through it, because there really is no pathway that's standard, and there's no timeline. There's no, point at which you're over it. There's no point at which, you're all good and, things have moved on, even if you have, children, after that, if that's part of your journey moving forward. It's something that will always be with you in one way or another. So we try to help you walk that journey, especially initially, and want to be there to support people across their birthing journey, even when it's not what they wanted.
The desired outcome. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, let's just lighten this mood a little bit. Let me do like a little rapid fire with you guys, and then we're gonna get into where we can find you guys, the website, and where people can sign up. But what advice would you give someone who's trying to get into you guys' line of work? It's not easy. Let me just say this, guys. That I'm sure my little guests here, they'll be able to back me up. It's not easy, being in the birth space. It's just not. There's so many different outcomes. It's a lot of work. Like I said, as a doula, it's a lot of hard work. When you're trying to make sure you're bringing a baby into this world with a family, you build a different or particular connection. So definitely, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to get into this space?
I would say connecting with someone who is already in the space. I mean, I think for any line of work, it's like, oh, network. But for the birth space in particular, people are so friendly. Like we are nurturing people by nature. And so finding someone either on social media or going into, your provider's office and asking them to be connected with a doula that way, just to chat about their experience, I think that's how I've learned so much, is by finding role models and mentors in this space.
I agree.
And I'll add, really think about what your strengths are. We all have our own individual unique strengths. And I think really bringing those to the forefront, both for yourself and as well as the people that you work with. And it is a very personal, intimate experience working in the birth space. And so not every personality type is going to match up. But as long as you bring your authentic self and your strengths, you're going to find those people that gel with you, and that you can support in a really authentic, nurturing way. So I would say, think about, what you bring to the table, and be proud of that and share that with others. And that will resonate for people.
I am really glad you said that part. Think of what you bring to the table and just be proud of that. Because many times, sometimes we allow imposter syndrome sometimes to come in and like, am I good enough? No, stand tall in what you know. We all don't know everything in this life. We're always going to continue to learn. So I'm happy you said that, Lauren. All right. So do you guys professionally, do you recommend anything, a book, a YouTube video, a podcast? What are you guys into or reading?
I am an avid consumer of all things evidence-based birth. I like
Yes. Shout out to them, definitely.
website, YouTube, podcast, all of that. I really appreciate the work that they do. And one of my other favorites is Angela Garba's book. She actually just wrote a new one as well, but her book on feminism and pregnancy and birth, I really like. I will link, or I'll comment the full title so that I get that right.
Yes. We will definitely do that. What about you, Carolyn?
I mean, the first one that came to my head is Erica Chidi. She's the founder of Loom HQ, which I was aware of. I used to live in LA, and that her brick and mortar was in Culver City, right by me. But she has since wrote a book and taken all of her resources online, and she really covers the spectrum of from birth to infertility to sexuality. And I think that that's just such a great resource for all things in that space.
I'll mention a couple others that just came to mind too. I really like the Positive Birth Company. They have some really great programming. They're UK based, so slightly different when it comes to some of the context.
Yeah.
And then I would also like to highlight the Miscarriage Doula on Instagram. She's also, I think, a really good resource when it comes to pregnancy or infant loss.
Ooh, I gotta go follow her now. All right. So where can people connect with you, going forward? Because I'm going to put everything in the show notes, guys, all the website, all the links, but definitely for those of you listening, where can people connect with you guys? And I will say this, guys, they are very friendly. They do respond to DMs. I don't know how they find the time because they do have children and a family, but they do respond via DMs really, really fast. But also, check their website out, of course. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, all these different things. But of course, where can they connect with you guys at? Let me know. I'm out.
Please DM us. We love talking to people. Mental Push Plan is our Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok handle. And mentalpushplan.com is our website where you can find all of our products and resources there.
All right, guys. Well, it was a good time talking to you guys, learning so much. And I just want to reiterate, guys, for those of you listening, if you're expecting, someone who's expecting, or even if you're planning to, it doesn't hurt to get ahead, really and truly, because, being pregnant, giving birth, it's a lot just from working with mamas. So definitely want to check out their Mental Push Plan, get that guided workbook to help you through. So, gift, man, you never know. Gift a mama in your life. I'm pretty sure they will be blessed just to have that. So it's really a pleasure talking to you. Sometimes we talk about mental health, but when we think about pregnancy at the same time, we don't always connect those two, believe it or not. And there are just some things that you as a mom, an expectant mom, you just may not even know. I've had clients who have had 2 and 3 babies, but they still did not even know something. So we're just here. And Lauren and Carolyn, they're just here to supply you guys with the different resources to ensure that you have all the tools in your toolbox that you can utilize consistently, not the day of, but consistently right up until it's time for you to give birth and even after. So definitely make sure you check them out. I'm telling you guys, I connected with them via Instagram and they have been nothing but kind. And, it's very rare. I'll just be honest here. It's very rare you will meet people who wants to connect or they can be able to share information and talk on this social media, on many different social media platforms. It's always a good and refreshing to have people like you guys. Always.
Thank you, Tanya. That's so nice. We really appreciate you having us.
You just never know. I'm always nervous. Oh my God, somebody's DM me. I'm going to DM somebody, and you just never know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get left unread. They don't read your message and not even acknowledge you, and then you get upset and you get in your feelings and be all upset. But no, these guys are funny. And we just send it because we're talking to them, guys. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to them and they'll definitely connect. I can vouch for that. So,
and thank you guys for being here. Can I leave you with one final thought?
Yes.
We want everyone to know that we don't, at the Mental Push Plan, give you mental strength. Something that you already have. It is already within you. You are mentally strong. What we're here to do is just help you tap into it. We help you figure out how can I consistently be in a good, strong, productive, capable mental space, because we're all capable of that. Sometimes we just need a little help getting there.
You know, what better way to end an episode than that? Like that was a perfect timing, honestly, in what you said, and that's really true. And I'm glad you said that, because sometimes people think, oh, no, I need to get fixed. Let me just come here. No, you already have these. We're just highlighting and making sure that you utilize what you already have. So that's definitely important. So on that note, guys, I will see you back here on another Tuesday for another episode. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tanya.